Before airplanes, before maps made sense, before the world even agreed on what humanity meant, there were ships. Massive wooden beasts riding the waves, carrying explorers who believed the ocean was a puzzle they were destined to solve. But behind the shiny myths of discovery, behind the brave captains and the dramatic sea voyages, was a darker engine pushing this new global world forward. Not gold, not spices, but people. This is the story of how the age of exploration didn't just connect continents. It built an entire empire powered by human trafficking on a scale the world had never seen. Welcome to the dark side of the voyages that changed everything.
The 1400s. Europe was basically a kid who finally learned how to use Google Maps. The compass arrives, ship design evolves, and suddenly Portugal goes, hey, what if we just sail south and see what happens? This was the birth of the caravel. Small, fast, durable ships that could hug coastlines or charge straight into unknown waters. Explorers like Prince Henry the Navigator weren't just curious, they were strategic. Africa's western coast wasn't a mystery to Africans, but it was a blank page for Europeans, full of opportunity, gold, and eventually a twisted idea. Humans could be cargo. At first, it was small scale. Captives traded for European goods, but the door had opened, and history was about to walk through it barefoot and bleeding.
By the mid-1400s, Portuguese traders realized something brutal. Humans were valuable. Kings, warlords, and coastal merchants in West and Central Africa had their own systems of captivity and conflict, but Europeans industrialized it. The mindset shift was chilling. If you can load gold on a ship, why not people? Fortresses popped up along the coast. Elmina, Uda, Gorée, becoming warehouses of despair. Captives were marched from inland kingdoms to the shore, chained, exhausted, terrified. The ocean became more than a route. It became a conveyor belt. And the demand? It was about to explode.
Once sugar plantations in the Americas took off, the economy snapped into a horrifying shape. The Atlantic Triangular Trade. Europe sent weapons, alcohol, metal goods to Africa. Africa sent millions of enslaved men, women, and children to the Americas. The Americas sent sugar, coffee, cotton, tobacco to Europe. A triangle that made kingdoms rich. A triangle that made suffering global. A triangle that turned the ocean into the world's most profitable highway. Every trip was calculated. Every human was reduced to cargo weight, survival rates, and insurance claims. This wasn't chaos. This was organized misery.
Here's the part no textbook prepares you for. The lower deck. A world without air, without light, without dignity. People chained shoulder to shoulder, unable to stand. Heat thick enough to suffocate. Disease spreading faster than prayers could be whispered. Some ships lost 1/3 of the captives before reaching land. And yet, they kept going.
But the ocean wasn't just a graveyard. It was also a battleground. Captives fought back, sang, planned, resisted in every way the chains allowed. History remembers a few names, but deep in those halls, there were thousands of unnamed rebels whose stories never reached the wind. Slavery wasn't a side hustle. It was the economic engine of the early modern world. Banks funded voyages. Insurance companies paid out for lost cargo. Plantation owners became celebrities of wealth. And European capitals, London, Lisbon, Amsterdam, Bordeaux, expanded on profits soaked in human suffering. The saddest part? Many of the world's early economic theories were built to justify this system. Humanity twisted itself into intellectual knots to explain why freedom was a privilege, not a right. Slavery didn't just build colonies, it built capitalism. Here's the part movie directors never give enough attention. Slave ship rebellions were common. Captives broke chains, hijacked ships, attempted escapes even in the middle of the ocean. The Amistad Revolt is the most famous, where enslaved Africans took control of the ship in 1839. But there were dozens more. Many ended in tragedy, some ended in triumph. All of them proved a single truth. Even in the darkest holds of the darkest ships, the human spirit refused to be defeated. Revolutions don't always start on land. Sometimes they begin in the belly of a ship. By the early 1800s, the world started rethinking the horror it had created. Abolitionists rose, economies shifted, and enslaved communities across the Americas launched rebellions that terrified their oppressors and reshaped empires. Britain banned the trade in 1807, the US in 1808. More nations followed, slowly, hesitantly, incompletely. But here's the twist that hurts. Illegal slave trading continued for decades, sometimes with even worse conditions because smugglers wanted speed over survival. Ending a law is easy. Ending a system built on greed, that took generations. The story didn't end when the ship stopped sailing. The Atlantic slave trade reshaped languages, music, food, identity, borders, and economies. It created diasporas, tore apart kingdoms, and planted trauma that still finds new ways to echo in modern society. Jazz, samba, calypso, spirituals, gospel, blues. So much of global culture grew from communities who refused to let their history silence them. The voyages were dark, but the survival? That was brilliant. When we look at old ships in museums or maps from the age of exploration, it's easy to think of adventure, bravery, glory. But the ocean remembers more than our textbooks admit. It remembers the ships that didn't return, the captives who never saw land again, the rebellions that almost changed history, the strength of people who survived so their descendants could reshape the world. Exploration expanded the map, but slavery redrew humanity. And until we understand both sides of that story, we'll never truly understand the world we live in today.
If this journey opened your eyes even a little, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you won't miss our next deep dive into the hidden stories behind our world.